Fine. So the shaila is public menorah lightings, and is there? So a lot of people. The minhag is we do the public. A lot of people do the public menorah lightings. They do it with the bracha. The shaila is that iska halten al pi halacha, because the ikar hadlaka of lighting a menorah is supposed to be in your house. If you light the menorah in the street, the chayra, it would seem that you're not yitzah, because the chiyuv is to do it in your house by the door. So we have to by your house, by the front door of your house. It's ner isha basing. Because the mitzvah of the kana chazal is ner isha basing. In your house, you light with your family.
So you bring ner isha basing, you light in public, and that's it.
But it has to be by your house.
What's the house have to do with anything? Oh, because it says in your house. It says to light in your house.
If you light in the middle of the street, Pashas, you're not Yitzhak. You're not Yitzhak in this one.
It says B'bayis is a zaytik azak. Because usually where's your family? Usually where's your family? You're saying anyhow. But anyhow, usually where's your family? By the four walls of your family. If not, light with them somewhere else. If you go away somewhere.
Right. The halacha is if you light in the street, wherever you're going to be staying, wherever you're living, that's where you light. There's a halacha is if you light in the middle of the street and then later you come home, Pashas you're not Yitzhak. So the question is, where does this come from? So the first Inyan we have that you do a public menorah lighting with the brachas in the shul, right? In shul you make a public menorah lighting, and people aren't Yitzhak, and still you do it with the bracha. So Shai, where does that come from? We need to understand the din of lighting menorah in the shul, and then we have to see if lighting in the street is the same thing as lighting menorah in the shul. So lighting the menorah in shul is not mentioned in the Gemara at all. So minhag got started in the times of the Rishonim.
Times of who?
The Rishonim. The Rishonim talk about it, but in the Gemara it's not mentioned.
What does it say in the Gemara about lighting?
What is
saying? Like what's we're going to what not or what? Yeah, where's the what? Yes.
Where's what? Yes, the Gemara saying the Gemara says no. Shabbos say that how many menorahs need to light, but it seems to say it's clear from the Gemara you have to light in your house. In the Gemara and the Rishonim they have to light in your house. You can't light somewhere else. So the Shivali Aleka brings down this minhag, and he says his brother wasn't happy with the minhag, and he was against lighting menorahs in shul because he doesn't know where it came from. What's the reason for it? He writes in first Maramakim, says, and he said, "Hey, Divrei Bala Iter." The Bala Iter says, "Nagu lahadlik haneris Chanukah bevate knesses." That they're neg to bring they're neg to light the menorahs in the shuls. The gam anu negim lahadlik neris Chanukah bevate knesses, and we're also neg to do this. You have no idea where this minhag came from, even though we do it. He would refrain from doing lighting the menorah in his shul, and he wouldn't in order not to make a brach on it. So too it seems to me. Since everyone's writing their house, what need is there for lighting inside the shul? If there were guests sleeping over there, but there are no guests sleeping over there. Everyone is lighting on their own at home. So who needs?
Why take away such a beautiful minhag? Light without a bracha.
The shaylas were you saying light without a bracha?
No, because in those times they didn't do it, so it's a new thing. But now you're used to it, so that's why you're saying that.
I think they did it then too, it looks like.
They didn't do it then.
In the times of the Gemara?
No, here, it looks like in these times, this guy decided the brother had a mishigas to stop not to do it.
Yeah, but shaylas, where did it come from? And what's the reason for it? So in the second Maramak in Tanya,
beautiful thing,
the second Maramak in Tanya Rasi, he says Taki the minhag started because of the people who are staying in the shul and he's light menorah. He says V'shema nagol lahadlika bavur ha'orchim bavur mishalei hayolei shem lahadlik ner chanukah. Maybe someone didn't have enough oil, or they didn't have. They were staying in the shul, so they started lighting the menorah over there in the shul. Similar to a lot of shuls have the minhag to do kiddush inside the shul. Not on the Babasher shuls don't do it, but a lot of Ashkenazi shuls, after davening, they make kiddush. Even though no one's Yitzhak. At nighttime, after Ma'ariv, they finish, they say they make kiddush. No one, it doesn't. A lot of Dafka anyone's Yitzhak, but why that start? Because it used to be there and have people sleeping in the shul, and the minhag was that they go light. So even now that they don't have people staying in the shul, they still make kiddush. And the Chayda, that would be the same. that would be the same reason for lighting the menorah, even though there are no people staying in the shul. Since that's how it started, we're not mevatel the minhag.
Makes sense.
So if this is the reason, so then it would be, so the shayla is, could he stretch this to lighting in the street? So that would be hard, right? There's a minhag to light inside the shul, so even though the time of the minhag isn't there, because people don't sleep there, but we still light over there, but to stretch it to go light in the street.
Right, for those that aren't doing it. For those that don't have and aren't doing it. Second best.
So you're saying Mishalei Hayolei Shemin. You're saying someone who wasn't able to do it.
Yeah, in the street, second best.
So that's so the Kolbei teaches that Mechinami. So far we have one reason we have is in order for people that are sleeping in the shul. If that's the reason on the Chaydo, it would be a problem to make it do it in the street. But the Kolbei brings other reason. He teaches a more. Actually, he gives three reasons. The Kolbei in the third Maramachim. Says Nagu Kolam Akamis Lahatik Ner Chanukah Beis HaKnesses Lahitzi Misha Einei Baki. To be to someone who was not Baki in it. So that's one thing. He doesn't know how to do it. Einei Zadi's Bezis. He's not so.
Take care of it.
Yeah, he's not so Zadi's. He's not so particular with keeping Torah mitzvahs, maybe. Another reason says Kihu Hider Mitzvah Pirsam Hanes. What's the whole point of Menorah? So it's Pirsam Nisa. So you do it in the shul. You also have Pirsam Nisa.
That's his last time. It's different from all the other three timing.
And then he gives a third one, V'zeichel Mikdash. Could also be that Zeichel Mikdash. In this Mikdash, they would light the Menorah. They would light the Menorah in this Mikdash. So too in our shul, we also light the Menorah. Right?
The last two timing would probably be without a bracha, though, no? Maybe.
So he gave three reasons. One, to be to someone who isn't doing it on their own, or misad say hider a person that you're doing more person mitzvah, or a zeichel mikdash. So
the first and last reason you could say you could do it in the street too.
So zeichel mikdash, first and the second, right?
Hider
and person
all the
mitzvah.
reasons you could say in the street.
If for to be someone who's
hider mitzvah.
Yeah, you have more. What's the hider mitzvah? That's more Pirsum Nisa. But the part of Zeichel Mikdash, it depends what is a Zeichel Mikdash. How is a Zeichel Mikdash? Just looking at the Sefer Amanik, he brings Zeichel. It sounds like he brings Zeichel Mikdash, but he touches this a little bit more. Fourth Amakin says V'yirad the ein chiyuv beis haknesses lahadik ner Chanukah. It's not a chiyuv. Ela nagu kach al zeh shaneis ba b'mikdash beis ilamim. Since the neis happened in the beis hamikdash, va'isen kamaykim b'mikdash ma'at v'geila. So too in our mikdash ma'at, we also light the menorah. The farsam anesha kulam iskabsim sham, that everyone gathers over there. So the shayla is, what's a zeichel mikdash? Is a zeichel mikdash that just to remind everyone, and in a place where people gather? So Eva was saying maybe you could do it in the street also, or is a zeichel mikdash the fact that it's in a shul, just like in the Beis HaMikdash they lit the menorah. So too in our mikdash ma'at, in our shul we also light the menorah.
So according to the manik, you made a bracha. According to the manik, you made a bracha.
So everyone made a bracha. That was what they did. They made a bracha. So far the shayla is why. How can you make a minhag?
Why did you make a bracha in the manik? The other guy, because you're being made to somebody else.
Right, if you're being made to someone else, but if it's only mishum
hider, you weren't being made to anybody else.
You weren't being made. So how can you make a bracha?
Yeah.
So the Rivash answers that. So he gets into the shayla: could you make a bracha on a minhag, like halal Reish Chodesh is a minhag? Could you make a bracha on it? But before he gives that, that's the second part of the Rivash. First, the Rivash gives another reason, a fourth reason why we light the menorah in the shul. He says because back then, why didn't they light in shul in times of the Gemara? Because back then they used to light outside on their front door. So they had Pirsum Nisa. Everyone saw it. Everyone in the street saw it. They did a public lighting. Everyone was lighting in the street outside their door. But after. So now they were Mechadash, yeah. They started. They renewed. Mm-hmm. So he says that now but since once again they told us that the Yidden shouldn't light menorah. So even though your yates are doing it in the house, but that aspect of pursuingness of doing it in the street you don't have. So therefore that's why the minhag started to do it in shul. To be yates design the pursuingness that you lost out on doing in the street, we do it in shul instead. That's how he teaches that's how he explains the minhag. Fifth Ramakim, he says, "Aminag hazeh v'hadik bebeis hakneses minag v'sikanhu mishum pirsumi nisa." It's not it's a proper minag, and it's mishum because of pirsumi nisa. Kim she'ein anachnu yichidun l'kayim hamisa kitikuna kol ech beveisei. Since not everyone can do the minag properly, or the mitzvah properly in their house, shehi la'anicha pesach beisei mibachutz, to put it outside the door. The kivan sha'ata sheyada umeis takvalinu. Since the goyim are controlling us and tell us not to do it. We can't do it properly. Therefore, inside his house, only for his family. Therefore, this is why we started doing in the shul, in order to fulfill the Pirsumi that we were missing out at home. So this time for Adlakas Neidus, L'chida Shaykh also lighting it in the street. I could it. So the Kobe also said it similar, right? He also said the Varta Pirsumi Nisa. So according to this, L'chida can say that it's okay to light in the street even with the bracha. But now the shaila, how could you light with a bracha if it's only a minhag? It's not a takan of Chazal. So he says, "Va'afa pisha im avarchin ala minhag." The halacha is you don't make a bracha on minhag, just like a ravais, right? The Gemara says that by the ravais on Hishana Rabba, when you do the chipta ravais, you don't make a bracha on it because it's only a minhag. So you see from the Gemara, you don't make a bracha on a minhag. See, for first he says, "Zehu b'minhag hakal." He says that's only by a very light minhag hakal. You're hitting that ravish. There's not so much teichen to it. It's not, you're not being mishabech the ibisher. It's not such a teichen like a minhag.
If you don't say that little thing that we say, those hiratzin.
Yeah, but in the ma'isa, but the bracha is on the ma'isa. It's not on the hiratzin. You're just beating a branch on the floor. Aval bezeh shehu lefarsem anes bevis hakneses berabe, and you're being mefarsem the nesa of the Eibishter of Chanukah mevarchin olav. That's not a problem. You could make a bracha on it even though it's only a minute. And Kisei gives example commission agol levarach ala halal shal reish chodesh, just like where the minhag gives we make bracha on halal reish chodesh. Va'apal pisha ein ela minhag. The aim bezeh mishum bracha levatala klal. The Kedash Rabbeinu Tamzal, Rabbeinu Tam Tesis says he gives us chiluk that something which is a ma'isa hakal, it's just a chibut balmi, just being a stick on the floor, that you can't make a bracha. But halal, you being mishavech the Eibishter, or lighting a menorah, that you can make a bracha even though it's only a minhag. So what's going on? We have some of these reasons. So we have a few reasons which work to light in the street.
For me, they all work to light in the street.
So if it's to for other people who don't have menorah to be that works. That's a good reason. What else did we have? We had, if the reason is because just like the minhag was at these light in the shuls for people.
This is our shul, second best. That's where the people congregate. They used to congregate in shul. Now they're outside, so we do zeichel hamikdash. It would be better to do it in shul, but since there's no one in shul, we go outside.
People who don't go to shul.
Right. So instead of doing it in the mikdash in the shul, we do it for the mikdash outside. All the reasons make sense.
But the reason the Tainer Rav see that really originally started to be so the people who are sleeping in the shul. Elamai, even though people aren't sleeping there anymore, we just do it because that's what we used to do. So you can't stretch that out even further, right? Really you shouldn't be making the bracha in shul.
No, it's very good. It's all the same reason.
Oh, so you're coming on to another reason.
No, the people sleeping in shul, I'm doing it for them, because if not, they wouldn't have.
The Rapti says
so the same thing I'm doing it for the people in the streets that wouldn't have. It's all the same thing.
That was right, because the Rapti says those guys don't have shemen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if
they
you go, if you have the reason for the people don't have, then inachinami. If the vart is zeicher l'mikdash, so then.
I could stretch it, double stretch.
Yeah, you could.
I got it to zeichel hamikdash. Where am I going to do it? In shul, but there weren't so many people. I looked outside, there's 1,000 people. In shul there were 10, so I made sure to do it also outside zeichel hamikdash.
Okay.
Better to do it in a shul zeichel hamikdash. It's more connected to mikdash, but mikdash mat, of course, right? But if second best would be outside.
So
the Abish is everywhere.
So
the mikdash is everywhere too.
So the easiest time to make a bracha by the public menorah lightings is mitzvah that you're being used to other people weren't used to. But the problem is that it says in Shulchan Aruch, the halacha is that if someone that if you hear it like the Menorah and Shul, you're not Yetzer. You have to do it again at home.
Yeah, that's for those that are
like
listening
the
to you.
Rivash
They're
says.
go and light it home. But if somebody's not
the
going to light
Rivash
it
writes
home,
on the end of the tshuva, he says, "Mikol makom ba'isa adlaka shabisa knesses ein adam Yetzer ba." That you're not Yetzer with the B'tzarech lachshol lahadli kol echad the
If you have a Menorah, you're not Yetzer. If you don't have Shemin and you don't know what Hanukkah is, you're Yetzer. Just like those people that slept in shuls, the same way the people outside.
So some patients says this is a shayla. How do you reconcile these two tshuvas? You have the Rivash and this.
I'm good with
some places can say some places say some machlekes, and some people say some say like you said in Achinami that it's talking.
It all comes from the people in shul that didn't have shemen. The people outside have shemen. They know shemen. They have oil in their house. They know menorah. So if anyone comes to shul that has oil in their house, that's the light again. But those that aren't yaitz in shul because they don't have shemen in their house, they have to light again. Those that don't, you have to be yaitz in them. Whether in shul, whether outside.
So some people are in for Zayim, and Dain Raskin from England. So he in his sefer he gives he explains that there's two in the Sivim B'Stei Ashlichas.
Yeah. Which one? First or second?
And I think it's in the first one. So he writes. He wants for that. He wants to explain that there's two aspects in the Menorah. There's Persumei Nisa. There's a Persumei Nisa, which is a public that even if you don't, you make the bracha. If you're walking in the street, you see a Menorah, you can make a bracha on it. And you may make the bracha, and then there's also the individual chiyuv that everyone has to do. So there's two parts of it. There's a Persumei Nisa, and then there's the individual chiyuv to do it in your house. So he says, even the Hakka people, see, he says, when do we say you're not Yetzer? There's Taka part of the mitzvah you weren't Yetzer, the chiyuv of doing it in your house. But the part of Persumei Nisa, that people on the street are Taka Yetzer from you. That people are Taka Yetzer from you.
I'd rather say that the people in the street are Yetzer everything. That's what I'd rather say.
Right, but the Shai is what you do with the Rivash. The Rivash says you're not Yetzer.
He didn't say that. He says if you have shemen in your house and you know what Menorah is, you shouldn't be Yetzer with the shul. He doesn't say that those that are in shul that don't have shemen aren't Yetzer. That's the whole point why we do it in shul is so people should be Yetzer.
That's a beer in the Rivash. He doesn't say that clearly. It's a beer in the Rivash.
It's a good beer. That what do you call it? That those that don't have shemen are Yetzer.
So he has another beer. We have two beer in. You have two V'yorim in the Rivash.
What's the other B in the Rivash? That it's only for Pesum and Nisa?
That mitzad, the individual chiyuv that you have, you're not that you have to do dafka in your house. It's never Yisha Beisai.
He said that's what the Eichem Yishain in the Beisai.
Even the person who was Yetzer on the street in the Beisai, the person who didn't have oil on his own, was he fully Yetzer the mitzvah? If he gets oil later, does he not have to light his house?
If he gets oil later and he learns Torah and he understands that you're supposed to do it yourself.
So you see, there's an aspect of the mitzvah he wasn't Mekayim yet.
Better. There's a mitzvah to do.
Yeah. That everybody should light
That's everyone, but to light in your own house, that's the chiyuv. So every house needs to light. Mahadran is that everyone lights on their own, but every house needs to light.
It's best. If not, you're doing shul for the guy. We said that's a those that don't have, you light for
right,
them.
But you're made that there's a chiluk of the mitzvah that he wasn't Mekayim. So yeah, so he has to.
Let's not look at what not. Let's look at what yes.
When you say
do the best you could do. Everyone should do the best they could do. If you have oil, light in your house. If you don't have oil in your shul, be Yetzer in shul. Right. If you're out in public and that's the best you knew and the best you had, then that's the best you could do. What you're Yetzer, what you're not. You're saying if you have later, let's say.
I'm saying we don't always say do the best you could do. If the mitzvah is to eat a kazayis mass, you only have a kazayis mass. You say do the best you could do. You only have a kazayis. You're not Yetzer the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to eat a kazayis.
So you eat the kazayis. What if you don't have two kazayis for matzah? What if you don't have two kazayis?
So saying the shayla is alpi Allah, are you Yetzer with on it?
Well, the shayla would be like you said. What if you did get later? Let's say somebody was out in the street. If he was really Yetzer, like I want a taina, then when he gets shemen later, he shouldn't relight, or he should relight.
So if you say there's a chelik of the mitzvah, there is a part of the mitzvah he wasn't mekayim, yes, then you should light again later.
I'm trying to be more open-minded. That's what they tell me. The arguments that should be more open-minded from the other side.
Having a group therapy over here.
Yeah.
So
tolerant. Look at the other side. Don't come.
When it says issue based,
let's understand the other guy, not to understand yourself.
My family and light in the street and work in the park and stay in the park for half an hour. Would that exclude that, or doesn't exclude that?
Well, it does exclude that. It has to be in your house. It has to be in your house.
2 hours.
Are you sleeping there?
Basically means my family.
It has to be at home. You're late in the street. Are you eating there? Are you sleeping there?
That's why I wanted to learn the Gemara where it says it to see what it means.
So wait a minute. So there's another limit somewhere that has to do with staying in the house. It has nothing to do with basic. The word basic doesn't mean house.
Should be.
Saying the Rivash supposed to be learning it out from the other. There you should be. Say it's your mishpacha and the place where you're saying.
Shabbos, you should see what you're doing. You shouldn't trip over each other. Hanukkah licht? Well, not. It's supposed to be out for half an hour. That's not related to sleeping.
Or your house.
Show me. No, show me.
Left after the house.
Let's
Next week we have to learn the Gemara.
Okay.
The Gemara inside.
Okay,
because we don't know.
okay, so next week we'll do the Gemara.
You thought we all knew the Gemara.
So let's jump to Mara Mekaimis. Maybe we'll come back to them. And the 8th Mara Makim. So Shivas as Nizbru. So we'll see some of the Pesachim who argue. So you could do it, you can't do it. So as Nizbru, Binyamin Zilber. So he says that it's not fine. You could do Hadlakas Neis with a bracha in the public lightings. Says Elasha, and he also says about that there's two parts. There's two parts of the mitzvah. There's a mitzvah there's part of pursuing mitzvah, and there's a part of doing it in your house.
And the guy who did it in his house and didn't do it in the windows also missing.
There's he's missing part of pursuing mitzvah, and that's why we do it in the shul or in the street.
But a guy who does it just in his house.
Yeah, and he wasn't in shul.
And he wasn't in shul. His shul didn't do it.
He's a part of
He's missing the Pesumim. You can't have it both ways.
He has to go do Public Menorah like us. And he says, Ve'elu, Ella she'amru chazal, the im yesh einis, right? Really, you're supposed to light outside your house. Ella, they said, the im yesh einis she'en yechol ha'adlik mitzvasa, outside. Mikol makin gam b'hadlika b'fnim mekayim ha'mitzvah. Asher chas shalei ikar ha'mitzvah sh'adlaka b'chutz. Even though he's missing a big ikar, you say, which is the Persumim Nisa. And he says, Lachin chidshu harishein hadlakas neres Chanukah bebeis haknesses v'shvil kulam chol echad yesh leishutfus boi, and everyone has a partnership in it. I'm not sure. Maybe they all paid for it. He's mekayim b'zeh ikar takanas hadlakas neres Chanukah b'chutz. You can say that you could say vitzivanu because you're mekayim the the mitzvah. The havik beis mitzvahs. Like there's two parts of the mitzvah of Neres Chanukah, and there's the Neres Beis during your house, and then there's a Persumim Mitzvah part, which that you have mainly outside.
And you yates with either half, and for sure the outside half you yates because that's the ikar, as he said for some Mitzvah.
Yeah, it's a chiddush what he's saying. Okay. I'm saying with Pashtas, I'm saying we know the ikar is usually doing it at your house, but there's a big ikar of it that you're yates doing in shul according to this. So here's Mekel. There's a lot of the chashav pesachim that were talking against it. They say you shouldn't make a bracha. And as Nidbru, the person writing to him, says that Shlomo Zalman Auerbach told him not to do it with a bracha. In the 9th Makim he says that he's a chreinin. Says I remember Shebishan Shavra Pigashi Sagoyin of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Shlita Vishalti Oisoi Al Hadlaka Bibracha Michus Beis HaKnesses. I asked him, could he do it? Could he make the bracha outside the Beis HaKnesses? The Heshiv Li Shekol Makar HaBracha Hu Al Seder Shemevarchin Al Minhag, or I'll say it's based on the time that you can make a bracha on a minhag, just like halal, b'reish chedesh. And if so, if the whole reason we're making a bracha is because we're able to make a bracha on a minhag, and this is the minhag, so the minhag also.
Maybe it's as early as making a bracha.
He's not going with the. It seems like he's not going with the tam that you're being yates to other people and pursuing nisa. He's saying, what's the reason? The minhag, for whatever reason, the minhag started, and there's no problem making for whatever. And we saw the Rav said that in this case you're allowed to make a bracha on a minhag. But it all starts with a minhag. So heicha the nag. Whenever you're the minhag is as I do it in the shul. You want to stretch a minhag, right? You're being mechadash anayim minhag.
Is that you do it with the bracha.
But the minhag is to do it in shul, and therefore it's okay to make a bracha on minhag. But now you're trying to make a new minhag to go do it on the street. You're saying the minhag was to do it in the shul. The minhag wasn't to do it in the street.
So this guy who asked the question the wrong way. He didn't ask the question. He could have asked him, is there any comparison between lighting in the street and doing it in shul? No, but he didn't ask that question. He wanted to know about the bracha because he wanted to get a different answer. So he got the answer that he wanted.
Yeah, so there's. So there are some Vosner Shevet Halevi. He also says not to the bracha and Tzitzel Yeser. There are some, but on the other hand, there's a large amount of Pesachim who say that it's fine to make of the bracha. There's Shlomo Mishash. He was part of the based in Yerushalayim. So he's Rav in Yerushalayim in the Reish of Beis. And see, he was Rav for the Sfardim over there, no? He's Sfardim. So he writes, in Haskamas of the Sefer, there's a Sefer Imrei Eliyahu. Over there he wrote against, he said he shouldn't make a bracha by the Public Menorah lighting. So in the Haskama, he writes over there, so he's Meicha, he talks about, he says that the Lubavitcher will invite me to the Public Menorah lightings, and I do it with a bracha, and he should have to do it as well. So he writes over here in Tentam Armakim. In the Haskama to the Sefer, he writes, "Be'inyan neiris Chanukah she'esin Chabad berechiva shalir be'Amerika v'gam kan oz be'Eretz Yisrael miskabetz am rav." A lot of people gather there. V'tomid ani muzman al yodam. They always invite me lahadlik v'leim rakam divrei Torah al hakal. V'gam ani madlik be'bracha. And he said, I do it with a bracha. V'ani eimer lahem koidim. And at first I tell them to call me she'in le Chanukia bebeisei she'yechavin lotzeis beberchosi she'biyetzer with my bracha v'yisharbi midar hachadash she'in lahem Chanukia legami. There's a lot of, in the new generation, a lot of people don't have a menorah. V'gam yesh ba kol ha'taimim hane'amarim b'beis haknesses. And also when you light in the street, you have all the same reasons you have in the beis haknesses. Shekasam aron, the beis Yosef Zal, that you could lahandlik bebracha. There's Mishum Orchim, or Na'yetze, Kamish Kasa Beis Yosef, V'gam Mishum Pishum Inisa, Kamish Kasa Maram Shulchan Aruch, V'gam Shehevi HaMechaber Shal HaSefer Imrei Eliyahu B'fnim. Also, this Mechaber brings in the Sefer other reasons. The Mashma, the Mikdash Eilamim. This how we do is Zeichel the Mikdash. With Mikdash Eilamim, Atzmei Hatam Mishum Shehakol Miskabsim Sham. The ikar reason is because it's a public place, not Afghan Shul. V'gam Kan Miskabes Kol Gadol Har B'Yisr V'Yisr Mibeis HaKnesses. Much more than in the Shul. Dalar V'Hei Pamim U'B'Reivam Hadras Melech V'Hachanukia G'Deila Harbe. And it's a much bigger menorah. But Tzarech Lalis B'Mailas. You have to go up and you have to go up and
in Suffolk Bezeh.
Yeah, you have to go up on the steps. In Suffolk Bezeh Hepach Harav HaMechaber B'Sun and then Ein Sham. So he and
he made the outside into a shul. He said Divrei Torah there. What more shul could you have with thousands of people lighting menorah? And he's saying Divrei Torah. What more shul zeichel lemikdash could you have than that?
So Avadia Yosef Taka, he in his tshuva, he also someone asked him about this. He says it seems like the majority, a lot of the Pesachim are against it. But he says people are going to make all they have Almil Smeich, and he says the Eitz Zayin Dava Meirav afterwards. So it'll also be like a basic Knesses. There's 11th Paramokim says. Nirish Hanoikim Lavarech Al Adlakas Neiris Adlakas Neiris Chanukah B'Mesibos Ke'ila Yesh Lehem Al Mashe Yismeichu. They have who to rely on. Kivan Sheish B'Zeh Mishum Pesum Minisa, since there is Pesum Minisa. Uma Toiv Lispalel Sham Tfilas Arvis B'Tzibur Miyad Achad Laka Kafi Shanoikim V'Vadei Knesses.
Very practical answer.
So some places they have tightness against this Asa also. They say just davening Meir doesn't give it a din of a basic Knesses. Right? If you're going with
they learn Teda there, and they lit Meneda, and they daven Meir, it's nicht basic Knesses.
So saying if you go with the Mahalach Hashlemus on Arbach that it's a minhag and make a bracha on a minhag.
They look in the shul is a basic Knesses.
No, but I was going to say, but I hold myself ready.
So Lavdaf all the Pesachim wrote against it, or they have some pnias against the Vavish. And so some Pesachim they don't like this hatter, and they also get into shaitlos if you have a kailul or something where they only daven Ma'ariv, they don't daven 3 times a day. So it also considered based like this.
They're not going to be happy.
They have whatever they get to.
The unhappy people.
So people that have
issues.
They have issues. Let's say mildly.
So Avi Heller, he wrote in
with a frown, with a scowl.
Right, you have to light a menorah with a scowl.
Avi Heller he wrote in the Kavitz V'Yom Elitera a while back. He also wrote that it's fine to do it with a bracha.
Even a Heller?
Yeah.
Wow.
What does he say? Does he still say that? But let me ask you a question. Does he still say the women should not make a bracha on the candles the week of Shabbos after they give birth? Did he change his mind?
And I don't know. And so that's
where did that come from?
The Torah says the women after they give birth, the next Shabbos they cannot make a bracha.
they should
Till they say kedusha.
I don't know, whatever it is.